Hello everyone, my name is Boris, and today I'm going to be doing a VOD review of Wasian Iverson. I noticed that he ended up in a pretty interesting board, and the set is very much about the path to these boards, and yeah, so I would like to see how he manages to navigate this game in a scrim lobby for the upcoming TPC tournament over this weekend. As you might see, very notable, unrecognizable names in the NA scene. Starting out here with Briar Pair and Nari, which are both pretty strong early game units. Ari especially preferable. Opt to not make 10 here, as gonna hold on some possible opener. In this patch, it seems to be a lot worse to simply sack the board, especially with not having as many outs. So ideally you want to play for any kind of board that would be able to at least preserve your HP and then leads into a stronger mid game or late game. Looking at coming up on our arguments here, we have Called Shot. Unfortunately, we didn't hit any 2 stars and we didn't have strong boards, so that would be an insta skip. I4 and I would lead us more into wanting to sack, and it's still a little bit of slow augment, but it's an option here. And Component Buffet would perhaps improve our slum, as it's currently only a Gunblade, which would not synergize as well as only a solo item. So I would assume we hold on to perhaps I4 and I with a weaker opener. Get off with Patience of a Virtue. Just scouting around to see what the other boards look like. And yeah, gonna roll 2 and 3, Survivor, no way, just it's a meme augment at the top scene. And Chaotic Evolution, we're not looking exactly to reroll, so I would assume it's a Patience as a Virtue. Unfortunately, here we get to... Alright, so we're gonna use it first to get into Ionia. I would imagine we maybe want to try to also grab the Briar Pair. But just gonna slap into a Bruiser for now, use the first one. And yeah, generally if Patience is a Virtue, if you are gonna use that shop to buy something, you try to buy as many options as you can. But we're just gonna be happy here playing around the Ionia opener. And I would assume that now we have made some kind of board to preserve a little bit of HP. And then start stacking up the free rerolls. Bard is also not as prominent of a tactic, gonna slam the Gunblade here. Should be a decent stage to slam, especially as our front line seems to be a little bit weaker, and it's gonna secure us a win here, which is nice. Get it a little 2-3 going. Now we get a little bit of a breather to perhaps start saving up some of that HP. The planner, we do not have a Kiana, so we're not gonna use it here to pick up, because the planner, if I'm not mistaken, I remember, stayed from the last Ishtal game. Fill the Fight, another Bilgewater. Bilgewater being very prominent comp in the current meta as well, with few variations, either playing around TF and Fizz, or the new tech from CN, where we tempo allow A3 and play into Freljord Dries with Volibear. And Fizz generally being the new Diana. For components, I'm not exactly sure what our direction is. We're gonna grab a cloak here, but I'm not exactly sure where this Gunblade is gonna lead us. And especially that we are playing a little off pace now, trying to get some of the free rerolls going. Scouting around, trying to figure out what lines might be open. And this seems like a third Bilgewater player. As you can see, the higher rank players rank Bilge very, very high. Graves variation is still also possible, as that can carry over to the max cap, where you could just transition the items later to Senna or Kindred. Despite their nerfs, they still provide a very strong top end. We've carried over the Cog pair constantly, as that is going to provide us with Arcanist at the next level. And this is another person playing around. Bill John, the Noxus core. If I was mistaken, this was not any of the resource generating Ionius. Might have been Path of Spirits, which is quite nice for Ari. And we break our lost streak, which is not that big of a deal. Managed to stay at 90 HP, which is quite alright. Looking at some of the bruiser unlocks, which with Patient Diversity is another thing. We are not really holding on to these pairs at times. I'm gonna make a 50 here. And this is probably where we have preserved some HP in stage 2. We're going to start looking to perhaps stack, slam a red buff, get some utility sorted out. Left with an even shroud, but otherwise not that much we could have made of these components. But this is reinforcing that we're probably not playing into Yunara since we did not slam a Kraken. Or Kiwi preserve a second bow. Just have a floating belt at the moment top down here, perhaps kill another unit, and we can actually get a win. This is quite nice. Another weaker player we fight. Now up to the next augment we probably insta-roll Chaos Magic. Spirit Link could be something if you're looking to stack the stage, and also as general decent combat augment. And the Scrimnet Killer is a little weaker, and in my experiences have not had that much success. Unseal from Fate is an interesting option. Yeah, Construct Companion. We're just going to opt for Spirit Link. A generally good combat augment. And we're also going to be dropping a little bit lower on the HP side, probably throughout the stage if we're not looking to buy anything. We should level to 6, but I'm not sure if he's going to even pick up a unit. Yeah, not even going to do that. Is this person... this is quite interesting route. So they have a quest where you play 13 rounds of 3 plus Ishtal, which is generally you want to play from a strong opener into a win streak and then get that cash out. Very recently buffed quest from the last one, which was 17, which is essentially an unpickable quest of playing only 3 Ishtal. Alright, so we're just looking at the map up there. Board looks like we're playing for some kind of bruiser variation with a backline. Essentially bruiser being valued quite high at the moment. Great in early game, with flat HP is very good at the early game, but also recently the 4 bruiser splash, for example, has been noted as being more prominent outside of lines, just like Void. As the previously mentioned, Rise Bilgewater comp also using it. Gonna level up, start at 7, lose some of our free rolls, hit another early Azir, which would provide us with some direction. We're probably gonna be looking to roll a little bit more here as we do. Alright, no, we're gonna say this is fine enough. We're satisfied with what we got here. Gonna slam an adaptive here just for a mana gen item. And perhaps looking to unlock Nasus, which would give us an option. And we have mapped out Diana board. Alright. Yeah, because if the plan is to play around Bruiser, this is interesting since we did not really have Void in at any point in the game so far. And even if you slaughtered it now, you've been looking Shelly only in stage 5, which is just too late for your forecast, especially you're looking to 2-star and you need a prominent tank. Well, Wukong does it, but having both of them to roll for is just more efficient. So alright, we're just gonna sack a couple of here more. With the Azir, unlock Nasus. And we mapped out an interesting Diana board, but we do not really have the Diana items. Well, we can't play this serviceable. But apart from that, we're not gonna hold on to the Mundo pair either. Let's transition, make a TG, which is serviceable and something like Renekton afterwards. So yeah, we have this interesting board mapped out. 3 Arcanist, 3 Defender. I'm not exactly sure what's that leading to. But we managed to win the fight here. Ideally, I guess we would want to unlock Xerath now, so we might sack another round here. Alright, for augments, best friends, it's not as much of an AD meta anymore, so the augment has fallen out a little bit of favor, and well, you can position the statues as them not counting for the best friends value. We're probably looking for some kind of item augments, and it's probably going to hold on to Staffsmith for now, same as the same thing with Pair of Fours not really doing it. Good offer a couple of decent combat augments, but I imagine we pick up Staffsmith here to get some items. Unfortunately, get redundancy and anti-heal, but we can just reforge that with one of our couple of reforgers. Pick up a Swain here. I would assume that he's holding the Garens and Luxes for a potential Silas out. Pick up a Seraphine. Hit an Warren to start stacking up early. Yeah, we're gonna start dropping out of the couple of Luxes that we hit to just start getting some value. A Reforge into a Rageblade, which is a great Azir item, especially if you're gonna have only a single item. Also with an Nasus 2 now being able to hold up our front line. And Seraphine 1 putting in quite a lot of work. Well, we got the items. Situation sorted out. Transition the TG to Shyvana. Gonna keep rolling a little bit more, especially before all the Swains are out. Alright, so P-value is the Rageblade on the center higher than on the Azir. 0-1 not really doing much, especially with one item. Senna can provide the utility a little bit early in the fight, which is always nice to have the shields on extra units, just more value that way. On the carousel, we have a floating glove. He's just gonna look, yeah, to complete the third item on our Nasus, have the front line sorted out. And yeah, this is a kind of a variation actually of the previous patch's Diana board. This patch, you definitely do not want to play around Diana. It's unfortunately not good for if you're looking to win. But yeah, we still have the Seraphine pair that we would probably want to look to upgrade, but really enable through this early Azir to be, and Shyvana to have a holder. And now we have actually managed to string together a few wins, unlock Renekton, and as well as TG roll and Skarner, but we're gonna drop the Shyvana to go into 3 Shurima. And yeah, we saw that this TG was a tank item, so we're gonna slap that on a Swain, also hit the Swain, but perhaps we're gonna keep rolling quite aggressively for that Seraphine, as that is our 3 item carry, and especially going to stage 5, if you do not have upgraded your 4 cost carry, you're gonna start very much lacking in power and taking some big losses. Nasus is not able to clutch it out, but still doing insane damage. Here we go, we hit natural the Seraphine. He's looking to lock to perhaps see if he gets a random 4 cost drop. I'm not sure if that's... It's very rarely the case, but just simply optimizing your odds. There's nothing else we can really look to hit. Okay, just gonna drop it in later. Gonna keep rolling to sit if you find an Erect until we do that. Now we're able to slap on some mana item on Seraphine. Renekton, I would imagine here we look for another third. Alright, we're gonna go Terex Rageblade, which is great, and leave an open tank slot as that can be quite flexible. We have our frontline pretty strong, but Swain 2 as well carrying a TG and Azir soldiers providing. Yeah, so this is turned out into a very interesting Shurima flex game. Playing around with the recent Seraphine buffs, showing how she can be quite flexible. Well, this is a similar variation to what we ran before, and it's only enabled through an early Azir. Alright, so he's trying to see if he can unlock Xerath by removing the items from Renekton here, which is a little bit tricky, especially if it's the last unlock. And it looks like we win anyway, so we just ended up giving a better loss. But that's fine. Yeah, just gonna slam the items back up now. Play for placements. Xerath being the particularly strong unit, as is enabling the charms to show up on your shop, which can essentially allow you to outscale their opponents, providing true extra value if you have the gold to be able to invest into them. But this board seems to be competing quite well, especially now that we're facing the 3 bilge contesters. Well, alright, so we have grabbed another Steadfast for our next redundancy, but DR is not the worst thing to be redundant about. Gonna look to go 9 here. So we have still one of the bilge players making out, which is generally going to be the case in the 3-way contest. Fighting a Ziggs Kaisa Void board, which is another recent variation. Just playing around the strength of the Ziggs that it has currently. But since it's a Ziggs 1, we're able to outrun it and sustain its splash damage. Which is, again, nicely played here through recognizing that we need to roll deep on level 8, as we're essentially looking for 4 cost carries, and the odds of going level 9 from while needing level 4 in this set are not that great. You generally, even beforehand, you wanted to complete your 4 cost carries on level 8 if you were not in a prime position to go 9 and be able to capitalize there around 5 costs, especially in this set with 4 cost odds being up to 30%. You really do want to finish them on level 8 if you're in a spot where you want to preserve lives here. And here we are on maybe maximum 3 lives if you take some good losses. I'm gonna level up. He's just slotting Skarner for some utility. And yeah, if we were able to get to the Xerath, that would have been for Shuriman and insta-win, obviously. But quite hard to pull off. Finding a quite capped bilge board that is still in some way transitioning from Dehua, who's managed to be one of the bilge players who got to good tempo. And it does look like we're not being able to get up to it. Fizz doing nasty things to our backline. And generally, we are not able to see, but if they also have some bilge stats, those are going to keep scaling. Now we are facing a Demacia longshot board, where I'm also playing around the Ziggs. With Ziggs too, but do we have it? I think Seraphine. Oh, so close, so close. Seraphine might have been able to hold out to it, but hit a Senna too. Now, we're really trying to position here to kill as many units as we can, because this bulge board is a lot higher cap as we are, so we get the angle, but the Fizz is gonna perhaps jump on our backline, and we're just hoping the triple overdrive takes a worse loss. Because Bilge has stacked with extra items and extra just pure stats, we recognize that we're not able to win, so we have position in a neat way. And we actually managed to beat it out, so nicely recognized through positioning, but we can break through one side of their front line. And I assume Deho was positioning also per overdrive. And as this was Silver Scrapes, the encounter that you're always going to be like, alright, this is the one now. This late into the game, we just leveled to 10 to slot in a Skarner, upgrade the Skarner, slot in Shyvana for some extra utility, and Juggernaut and Swain. However, the extra resources that Deho has managed to assemble here, it's gone 10, slotted in everyone's favorite unit currently, the Ziggs, even without items. But again, the Fizz did not get our backline, so we're able to secure a win. Now, They still have the option to cap. They have not hit all their 2 costs. They're still also on Swain 5 costs, and they're still on Swain 1. While we have options to really hit Shyvana 2 and Azir 2, but without items I'm not sure how much they're gonna do. Also, we are praying for good Fizz RNG. However, this fight, Fizz got on our backline, yeah, and that secures the deal for Deihua. Well, still a very interestingly played game, enabled through an early Azir being able to slot into Shurima. Unfortunately not able to unlock for Shurima, but very well recognized how to play early tempo through Patience of a Virtue, save some HP, be able to stack, then roll deep on 8, find a Prime Premier 4 costs that could stabilize and get us to 9. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. And I'll hope to see you in the next one. Peace.